Welcome to Moments of Good. I'm Debbie Pokornik, and I'm here with my beautiful friend, Susan Hoskins. Good morning, Susan.
Good morning, Debbie.
Oh, it's so nice to be here with you. You have this beautiful beam of sunlight coming in your window that really looks like this gorgeous energy that's here with us today.
I love it.
Yeah. So, I think recently we both tuned in to a very beautiful global effort to send out love and support and thank yous to all the workers, right? All the people that are out there, you know, braving um, any chance of catching the virus in order to keep things working for the rest of us that are at home. And we agree that that was just beautiful. It was a beautiful effort. It was gorgeous, but there was something in there that came up for both of us. And I really think we need to talk about it, because when you're talking about moments of good, you kind of undo it all when you're in a place of fight.
Oh,
So,
amen. Amen. It's the way of the warrior. It's the prevailing consciousness that its time has come to change and to ascend from the battle, the fight. And the thing with the virus, because I hear this all the time, the invisible enemy, we must defeat. It's a war. And I keep thinking back to what happens in wars. What happens? You may think you defeat the enemy, the so-called bad guy, because of course we have to be the good guys.
of
But
course.
of course, but what always happens is the so-called bad guys who are defeated rise up to then go to war with those they think are the bad guys. And so this constant notion of battle just
Mhm.
perpetuates itself. And I can't help but think that would be the same with this virus. We're going to defeat it. No, we're
Yes.
not. We need to embrace it and move through it for what it has to teach us.
And isn't it interesting? I mean, the message that keeps coming through for me is this is about surrendering.
Mhm,
Now,
mhm.
that too can be seen, I guess, as a battle term, but it's really not intended in that way as much as it is about truly recognizing this is where we are in this moment in time. And when you can fully surrender, as in give in to that and just feel what's happening right now, it can make a huge positive difference in how you move forward. In fact, it is the answer to how any of us move forward anytime
Oh,
life
I
is a
so
struggle.
agree. And I love what you just said. You just showed the difference between the way of the warrior and the way of the one. In the way of the warrior, surrender means, all right, white flag, I give up. But in the way of the one, I write about the art of surrender, which means
Mm.
giving oneself over to a power that can bring forth good with all the resources of the universe to bring forth our greatest good. That's what I call the art of surrender.
Beautiful. You know, it's really neat to me because I've read The Way of the One before I had you on my show. And I didn't remember it was in there. And what that means, it doesn't mean that it didn't stand out for me. It means that's how much it resonated with me, how much it resonated with maybe what I already know or what I
Right.
have tuned into as well. And it's just such a beautiful feeling of confirmation. So with that said, then, thinking about a moment of good, what would somebody do? I mean, what could they change right now to really start making a difference?
Oh, it's a beautiful question.
Hmm.
Mhm.
It's
What
it's
it's a personal decision, isn't it, for each person? Perhaps how they could be of greater service or make a difference or tune in deeper to themselves, how we treat one another.
I think it could also be as simple as shifting their perspective from having to overcome and defeat something to just really surrendering to it, to
Oh, I love
saying,
that.
okay, this is how it is. Now you have your A Voice from the Heart podcast. You have a beautiful episode in there. It's probably the one called Battle, the Battle.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Battle fatigue.
Battle fatigue. There we go. Yes. And in that one, you talk about this whole notion of seeing something as an enemy. Like even the idea when, when people are diagnosed with a life-threatening illness, like say cancer, it's always bothered me when, they start talking about, I have to defeat this. I'm going to win this. I'm going to, take it down. And I know why they're doing it, because that masculine model is very much one of the warrior,
Yes.
right? And on the flip side of it, though, is it completely denies that feminine going inwards and embracing and
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 nurturing.
loving.
Yes, and nurturing. Beautifully said. Right, right. And I talk about this a lot, but the problem with the gotta defeat the illness is that always, if a person chooses to transition,
Mhm.
as I say, the obituary will always state, oh, even though he or she fought valiantly, they lost their final battle, which is like, oh, I failed at this too. I
Mm.
didn't win the war. And that breaks my heart.
Me too. Me
Yeah.
too. And this ties in so tightly with what we've talked about um, fairly recently about that whole thing of redefining our relationship with death,
Yes,
right? Because that becomes such a big focus for us. If we fear death, if we think death is the absolute end, it becomes really hard for us
yes,
to really to live life fully in the moment, because we're so busy being focused on, oh my gosh, the one thing we know for absolute certain is going to happen to all of us is we're all going to die at some
yeah,
point, right?
exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, COVID-19 isn't how a lot of us ever want to go. In fact, I saw a really funny meme come around about after all the stupid things I did throughout my life, if I die from touching my face, I'm going to be really upset. Now that's softening what it actually said. But I thought, okay, that's cute. And I think that's a big piece of this too, is, you can start by shifting your perspective about this invisible enemy, and seeing it more as, what has COVID-19 come here to teach me,
Teach me,
right?
right.
So that's a piece of it. We can certainly teach or use that, but we also can laugh at things. That's a beautiful tool as well.
That's lovely. And the image that I see with COVID-19 that just so shines a light on this ridiculous notion of battle is they're even talking about some people who come off the ventilators. Oh man, they just fought so hard. And now look, they're off the ventilator. When someone's on a ventilator, I don't think you have an awareness. If I just fight it hard enough, I can rip this thing out. I
Mm,
think it's just what your soul is experiencing. Are you going to come back? Are you going to stay? Is it your time to exit? It has nothing to do with how hard you fight.
hmm. And that, by its extension, can make other people feel terrible about their loved ones who
Yes,
passed, and they've passed for a good reason too. They
yes,
felt they could do more on the other side than they can on this side.
exactly.
I've got angel bumps all over. Love when that happens.
Me too. Me too.
So, for this particular episode, we shall end there and hope that you can take this little moment of goodness and really start to think about, how am I looking at this virus? And is it helping me to create the kind of world that I want to create? Or
Exactly.
is it just, filling me with fear and all the feelings that come with not working and all that kind of stuff? Is it just pulling me down? Because if so, it's time to surrender.
It is.
Mm, nice. All right. On that note, this was your moment of good for today from Susan and Debbie. Bye.
Bye.